All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving deep into the world of Ginkgo Biloba. You know, that supplement that's supposed to be like a brain booster. We're going to see if it really lives up to all the hype.
Yeah, ginkgo's been around for ages, but modern science is still trying to figure out if it actually does what people say it does.
For this deep dive, we've got 3 research papers to unpack.
Ooh, fun.
So let's jump right in. The first one's a 2019 review.
Okay.
It tackled a pretty big question. Can Ginkgo Biloba extract, or GBE for short, actually help with Alzheimer's disease?
Oh, wow. That's a big one. Alzheimer's is a massive global health issue, so finding effective treatments or prevention strategies is super important. And GBE's been, on the radar of researchers for a while now.
So did this review, crack the code, give us a definitive answer?
Well, not exactly. It's actually more complicated than that. This review highlights a kind of heated debate in the scientific community. Some studies show GBE might have a positive effect on Alzheimer's symptoms,
Okay.
but other studies show no effect at all.
So conflicting results. What are scientists struggling with here? Why is it so hard to get a straight answer?
Well, it's research. It's complicated. One thought is that it could be GBE's antioxidant properties that are at play.
Right, antioxidants.
Yeah.
Like those things that fight free radicals.
Exactly. Antioxidants protect our cells from damage. You can think of it kind of like this. It's a constant battle against cellular rust. Antioxidants are like the warriors on the front lines.
So is GBE like a shield for our brain cells, protecting them from getting all rusty and damaged?
Yeah, that's the theory. And because free radical damage is linked to aging, including brain aging, GBE could potentially help slow down that decline.
Okay, I'm starting to see why people are excited about this stuff. But hold on. If it's that simple, why aren't we all popping ginkgo pills every day? There's got to be more to it than that, right?
There is. One issue is that different studies have used different doses of GBE. They've also used different study populations and different methods.
So it's hard to compare the results because everything's all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it really tough to draw any firm conclusions.
Okay, so that classic research problem. We need more data, more consistency, probably some larger scale studies too, right?
Definitely. Until then, the debate about GBE and Alzheimer's is probably going to keep going.
So no magic bullet for Alzheimer's just yet. But this 2019 review also looked at how GBE might actually work, at the cellular level. What did they find there? Anything cool?
They did find some interesting stuff. Beyond the antioxidant effects, GBE seems to influence a bunch of different cellular processes. For example, it might enhance how brain cells communicate and improve blood flow to the brain.
So it's not just about protecting brain cells from damage, but also making them work better.
Yeah, exactly. Optimizing how they function and talk to each other.
Wow, okay. But are these just theories, or have scientists actually seen these effects happening?
Well, researchers have seen some promising things in lab studies. But again, more research is needed, especially in humans.
Gotcha. Some interesting possibilities, but we got to stay grounded and not jump to conclusions. Okay, let's move on to our second source. This one's a 2018 review that looked at a whole bunch of different supplements and their impact on the brain. What was the focus there?
This review was kind of like a buffet of brain-boosting contenders. They looked at everything from amino acids to caffeine, even plant extracts like GBE.
Oh, wow. So where does GBE fit into this brain food buffet? What category is it in?
It falls under the plant products and herbal extracts section. Basically stuff that's shown some potential for helping with cognition.
All right, so is it about enhancing memory or focus or something else entirely?
The review actually suggests that GBE might go beyond just memory.
Interesting.
Some studies have looked at its effects on things like attention, how fast your brain processes information, even mood.
So maybe GBE is more like a multivitamin for your brain, it influences a bunch of different cognitive functions.
That's a good way to put it. It's not necessarily a magic bullet for one specific thing, but more like a potential way to support overall brain health.
Okay, so 2 research papers down, and it seems like a mixed bag so far. Some potential benefits, but also a lot of we need more research. But before we get to our third source, I'm curious, what do you personally find most intriguing about GBE, even with all the unknowns and stuff?
What really gets me is the possibility that GBE might offer some protection against, age-related cognitive decline. As we get older, our brains naturally start to slow down a bit. If future research confirms those early findings, it could be a game changer for maintaining brain health as we age.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's about keeping your brain in good shape for the long haul.
Exactly. Not just a quick fix, but something that could have a real impact on our quality of life as we get older.
I like that. Okay, so one last paper to go. And this one takes a bit of a darker turn. It's a 2021 review, and it focuses on warfarin.
Warfarin.
Yeah, that blood-thinning medication.
Yeah.
What's the connection to GBE?
Oh, right. Okay, so this review dove into the world of interactions between warfarin and all sorts of things, food, herbs, supplements, and GDE was on that list.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. What did they find?
They specifically flagged Ginkgo biloba as one of the substances that can make people taking warfarin more likely to bleed.
So even though GBE is natural, it doesn't mean it's always safe.
Yeah.
This is a good reminder that natural doesn't automatically equal no side effects.
Totally.
It's like anything else. Knowledge is power.
Right. And this really highlights how important it is to talk to your doctor before taking any new supplements, especially if you're on medication.
Absolutely. Always better to be safe than sorry.
Mm.
Get that professional advice.
It's definitely something to keep in mind. Speaking of things to keep in mind, let's go back to those memory enhancement claims about GBE. That's one of the main reasons people take it, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Who wouldn't want a little memory boost? But is there actually any solid evidence to support those claims?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Some smaller studies have shown some modest improvements in older adults, mainly in memory and cognitive function.
Okay.
But here's the thing, the results haven't always been consistent, especially in larger trials, the more rigorous ones.
So it's kind of like we're in a gray area. There are hints that it might work, but not enough to say for sure.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's why it's really important to be careful about all the marketing hype around GBE. It's easy to get caught up in the promises and stuff, but the science isn't quite there yet.
Right, right. It's like that saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
So what's your advice for someone who's genuinely concerned about their memory? Should they just grab a bottle of GBE and hope for the best?
I wouldn't recommend that. Self-treating can be kind of risky, especially when it comes to, brain health. The most important thing is to talk to your doctor first. They can check if there's any underlying medical condition that could be affecting your memory, and then they can recommend the best course of action.
Okay, so rule number 1, don't try to be your own doctor. Got it. But what if there isn't any underlying medical condition? Are there other things people can do to, boost their brain power naturally?
Oh, absolutely. Lifestyle factors play a huge role in cognitive health.
Okay.
Things like regular exercise, a healthy diet, good sleep, managing stress, all that stuff can have a big impact on how well your brain functions.
So all those classic healthy habits are still the foundation.
Yeah, always. They're the bedrock of a healthy brain. And don't forget about mental stimulation, like doing puzzles, learning a new language, playing a musical instrument. All those things can help keep your cognitive skills sharp.
So it's all about taking a holistic approach to brain health. Not just a pill, but nourishing your whole mind and body.
Exactly. It's about making sustainable choices that support your brain over the long term.
I like that. Okay, now I have a confession to make. While I was prepping for this deep dive, I was actually sipping on some Ginkgo Biloba tea. That's that bad. Should I be worried?
That's a good question. And it brings up an important point. Most of the research we've been talking about has focused on Ginkgo Biloba extract,
Right.
which is a concentrated form of the active compounds found in the plant.
So my tea is probably a much weaker dose compared to those supplements.
Most likely, yeah. But it's always a good idea to double check for potential interactions, especially if you're taking any medications.
Okay, noted. I'll definitely check with my doctor just to be safe. So shifting gears a little bit, I'm curious about the regulations surrounding GBE. Is it tightly regulated like a pharmaceutical drug, or is it more of a free-for-all in the supplement world?
Ooh, good question. That's where things can get a little tricky. In a lot of countries, GBE is classified as a dietary supplement,
Okay.
which means it doesn't go through the same strict testing and approval process as prescription meds.
So there's more of a buyer beware situation.
Yeah, to some extent. It's more on the consumer to do the research and pick reputable brands. That means looking for supplements that have been standardized to a specific concentration of active compounds, like ginkgolides and bilobalides. Those are thought to be the key players in GBE's effects.
So reading labels carefully is super important.
Absolutely. Don't just grab any old bottle of ginkgo you see. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Good supplement companies should be transparent, their sourcing, how they manufacture their products, and their quality control. You have the right to know what you're putting in your body.
Transparency is key. Now let's talk about the future. What are some of the most exciting things happening in GBE research right now?
Well, one area that I think is really promising is personalized medicine.
Hmm.
Researchers are starting to look at how individual genetic variations can affect how people respond to GBE.
So like tailoring GBE treatments based on someone's unique DNA. That sounds super cool, like the future of medicine kind of stuff.
It's definitely exciting. It has the potential to make GBE therapy more effective and, really targeted to the individual. Also, some researchers are exploring GBE's potential for other neurological conditions, things like stroke recovery or even Parkinson's disease.
So even though the research on GBE and Alzheimer's is still kind of up in the air, there are other promising avenues being explored.
For sure. The world of GBE research is huge and always changing. Who knows what breakthroughs are just around the corner?
It's like we've just peeked through the keyhole, and there's this whole world of Ginkgo biloba waiting to be explored. We've covered a lot of ground today, but before we wrap up our deep dive, I wanted to touch on something we haven't really talked about yet. What about the historical and cultural significance of Ginkgo biloba? This isn't just some new trend, right? It's a plant with a rich history.
Oh, absolutely. Ginkgo has been used in traditional Chinese medicine for centuries.
Wow.
It's been revered for its supposed health benefits. It's even considered a symbol of longevity and resilience.
That's so cool. So Ginkgo biloba is more than just a supplement.
Right.
It has this whole cultural and historical significance that adds a whole other layer to this conversation.
Definitely. It speaks to the connection between humans and nature and how we've always looked to plants and herbs for healing and, well-being.
Yeah, it's like ginkgo's got this whole backstory that we often forget about. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the science, the potential good stuff, the bad stuff, the regulations, the history. But at the end of the day, it's up to each person to decide if they want to take GBE or not.
Right, exactly. We've given you a ton of info to think about, but it's really a personal choice.
Absolutely. Got to make those informed decisions.
Yeah.
Now, before we officially wrap things up, there's one more thing I wanted to bring up. We've focused a lot on memory and, all that cognitive stuff.
Yeah.
But what about other aspects of brain health? Could GBE maybe play a role in things like, mood or creativity? Even spiritual well-being? I know that sounds kind of out there, but
That's a really interesting question. And honestly, it's something that science is just starting to look into. There's some early research that suggests GBE might have what are called anxiolytic effects. Basically, it could potentially help with anxiety.
Interesting. So maybe ginkgo's not just about, remembering where you put your keys.
Right.
It could affect our emotions and, our overall mental state in ways we don't even fully grasp yet.
Yeah, it's definitely an area that needs more research. But it speaks to the bigger picture, Our understanding of the brain and how it interacts with stuff like GBE is constantly evolving.
It seems like every time we find an answer, we just end up with more questions. But isn't that what makes science so cool? It's all about that constant exploration and discovery.
Could have said it better myself. And it's a journey we're all on together, right? As we learn more about ginkgo, we learn more about ourselves, too, about how incredibly complex our brains are and, how connected we are to the natural world.
Well said. It really does feel like we've only just scratched the surface of Ginkgo biloba. We've covered a lot of ground today, but as always, the quest for knowledge keeps going. I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Ginkgo biloba.
Yes. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Be sure to check out the show notes for links to all the research we talked about.
And until next time, stay curious and keep those brains buzzing.
See ya!